So this is a review for The Country Mouse, released in 1935. It's the 108th in the series, and it's directed by Friz Freleng. Physical media-wise, there's an unrestored copy on the Looney Tunes Mouse Chronicles set, but again, it's unrestored, but there is a HD version lurking about, hopefully one day that will make its way on disc. This cartoon is under copyright, so you will not find it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it, but in case you haven't seen this one, and understandably so, this one is more on the obscure side, but you have Elmer the Mouse. He wants to be the heavyweight champion of the world, but his grandma's having none of that. Undeterred, Elmer sneaks off and goes into the city to take part in a boxing fight against a bulldog, an animal, of course, that's never been cast in a tough role before or since. My kid, of course. So for this review, I'm going to go through the short from start to finish in regards to trivia and breaking things down. But because it's a Merry Melodies short, my good friend Manny, the Toonie tenor, is going to go through the origins of some of the music cues in this one. So I'll let Manny say hi to everyone right here.
Hi everyone, this is Manny Cruz, the Toonie tenor, coming at you with the latest edition of It's Time for Manny's Music Time with music trivia for you today. Bum! I did that all in one breath. For the 1935 Merry Melody cartoon, Country Boy. What? No, stop. So, wait. That was about a rabbit. This one's about a mouse. I already did that one. I recorded that one like a month or so ago. Okay, sorry. The cartoon that I meant to say was the 1935 Merry Melody, The Country Cousin. Oh, wait, no. That's a Disney cartoon. What am I talking about? I mean, that one has a mouse in it. Warner Brothers, Manny. Warner Brothers, not Disney. You got to catch up on the silly symphonies one day. I think I got it right. It's literally called Country Mouse. The cartoon has a mouse, and wow, really ingenious title planning on that one. So yes, today we're talking about the 1935 Merry Melody, Country Mouse, directed by Isidore Friz Freleng, with musical direction by Bernard Brown. So there ain't much to talk about in terms of musical cues. There ain't much to talk about here because we've got a country boy, or in this case, a country mouse. There's too many country mouse, country boy, even though in that one it was a rabbit. I don't know. Maybe Warner Brothers was getting into a rut. But the odd thing about that one is that in the other cartoon, there was an actual song called Country Boy, even though the lyrics are altered. But in this cartoon, there is no song. I guess this is a period now where Friz and the studio is starting to stretch out its legs, its wings, whatever you want to say, its tail, mouse, going with that whole gimmick, and not being so beholden to the name of the song that they're trying to plug. Because, yeah, there is no song of that name in this cartoon. It's just literally describing what's in the cartoon. It's a mouse from the country, and he lives with his grandma. And speaking of which, his name is Elmer, because that name was really popular, obviously, in the studio. I mean, later on, it would be used for the character Elmer Fudd, and there was an animator at the studio called Elmer Waite, who I'm assuming they might have used that name. So, I don't know. We got to bring back Elmer. It's a pretty cool name. Elmer Cruz. How does that sound for a future son of mine? No, he'll hate me for that. He'll say, Dad, you gave me a terrible name and I'm bald. I was like, hey, don't cry about it because your old man's bald too. So let's talk about the cues in this cartoon, and there is not much. The title track, according to the cue sheet, it's called Country Mouse, or you could just call it I'm the Strongest in the County, because that's what Elmer repeats in the song. But I must say, it's been a long time since I've seen this cartoon, and the last time I saw it was in a horrible faded print. I want to shout out my pal Stephen Hartley with his amazing, I used to have the Likely Looney, Mostly Merry blog, but please go and follow his amazing Instagram page. One, as in the number one.perfect.frame. Amazing stuff in terms of animation history. He's doing a phenomenal project with doing all the Warner Brothers cartoons. It's kind of like what Anthony's doing, but drawing a frame from the cartoon. And he also posts a lot of amazing stills and frames from various cartoons, not just Warner Brothers, but Disney and Fleischer and television animation. Great stuff. But in his blog, obviously, he talks about the cartoon, but he posts some screenshots of the faded print that I used to see of this cartoon on Cartoon Network and how washed out and terrible it used to look. But now, fortunately, I get to watch it in a beautiful restoration. Hopefully, it'll be on one of the new Collector's Choice Blu-rays that are coming out.
So let's take a look at this short from start to finish, and this is why shorts like this need to be restored, because I never noticed this before, but if you look in the background, you have the revelation that Friz Freleng used to be a boxer. Yeah, look at the background. It's Battling Freleng. And it says also Kid Ham. Maybe that's a play on animator Ham Hamilton. I don't know. You also see Jimmy. I'm not sure who that's relating to, but it's a nice little Easter egg. And the one on the very left, once you actually see the character move, it says Bugs on it. So that would be a reference to Ben Hardaway, and his nickname was Bugs. And the name would eventually inspire Bugs Bunny. So could this be, technically speaking, the first Bugs Bunny short? In a way? Kinda, sorta? Nah. Don't really need to exactly know all this, but it's certainly nice to see. But one thing I noticed when this short opens, in fact, this whole short feels like it's a harmonizing short from the early 30s, when they did the Looney Tunes shorts, but it's done slightly more refined. But it still looks primitive, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure why they went for the look here. Maybe this was just done just to get the quota done, just get something quickly done. I don't know. But this one definitely feels like a few steps back. That doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, this short has a lot of positives, but the look of this one, yeah, it feels like an early 30s short to me. But the look of this short aside, you can't deny that the timing is fantastic in this, especially when we got Elmer singing the title song, which Manny already went through. But we also see cameos from Beans, and I guess that's supposed to be Porky Pig as well. I don't know. But my guess is that, you know what, we just need to fill in the crowd. Let's just use these characters that we've already designed and just move on. I don't think they thought too much about this, but it's interesting to see when you're looking at all these shorts, how they were released one after another. But I guess that's Beans. Kind of looks like him, but anyway. But this song is also pretty catchy too. Is it the greatest Merry Melodies song? No, but it's perfect for this type of short. And in the next bit, I guess this is one way to make a woman character a tough one, right? I thought that this was the mother, but it turns out this is actually a grandmother, but she's pretty tough. She's smoking a corn pipe and she spits that tobacco. And the target is already something that was put up, so yeah. She is one tough granny. And the next bit's great regards to music, how he's just walking around, the kids are following him, and it's all to the time of music. And once again, and I say this in many reviews for these earlier Friz Freleng shorts, and even a lot of his later ones, his timing is just impeccable. Does this go on for maybe a bit too long? Maybe? I don't know, because we've really got the point that this guy is apparently tough and he's just showing off his muscles and all that, right? But he then goes up to a scarecrow and he pretends to box the scarecrow and the scarecrow knocks him out. So you do have to wonder, is he an actual competent boxer? There was a book before saying how to box, so maybe he didn't have any boxing experience before this. But we're going to find out now, won't we?
Going back to the title track, I forgot how much I enjoy this song. You know, I saw this cartoon probably sometime in the early 2000s when I first got into this hobby.
Big and rough, and boy, I'm tough. I'm the strongest in our county.
And it always was extremely catchy, you know, when Elmer's singing, and then you have the little part where he's singing to like the little kids, and one of the characters, he does like a little call and response with Elmer, and he plays a musical phrase on his harmonica. And I always got a big kick out of that. He says, you know, I'm the strongest in the county. At the
county fair with my arms bare, I lick 420. I'm stronger than old Higgins' mule. There's no horse team I can't outpull. Oh, the one you see is as strong as me. I'm the strongest in the county.
And I must say, and Steven also says this in his blog, you're really starting to see Friz really coming into his own in terms of his musical timing and just the quickness of his gags. He's not being so beholden to the music itself. He's using the music to really play up the gag, but also just show off his excellent timing. I forgot to mention that the cartoon was originally called The Country Mouse because this is the earliest Warner Brothers short to be reissued in the Blue Ribbon program. So in case you don't know, the Blue Ribbon special started in 1943. During World War II, Warner Brothers decided, let's start reissuing our older shorts for movie theaters, because at the time they had different packages. They had the Looney Tunes in black and white and slowly transitioning to color. He had the Merry Melodies, which were in color as of 1935 and beyond. And Bugs Bunny was such a popular character that his cartoons were sold separately, called Bugs Bunny Specials, even though they were either part of the Looney Tune or Merry Melodies series. And as a cost-cutting measure, due to the war, they did the Blue Ribbon Specials, they reissued the older shorts. But a huge, huge issue that they didn't realize at the time that, decades later, nerds like me and others would obsess over this stuff. They went in and cut off many of the original opening credits for these cartoons, and some of them have been recovered, but some of them have been lost to time. And sadly, this one, in the restoration itself, you don't see the opening titles. We know who worked on a cartoon. We know that Friz Freleng worked on it, and Bernard Brown did the musical direction on it based off of copyright information. And I'm assuming, based off what I see in the cue sheet in the pattern, that I'm the Strongest in the County / Country Mouse, whatever you want to call it, was used during the opening titles, but sadly we don't have a recording of it, and we don't have the actual footage of the opening titles. And I forgot to mention that, according to the cue sheet, Norman Spencer wrote this song. So Bernard Brown and Norman Spencer were going back and forth with the musical direction during this time. Norman Spencer was the music director, and Bernard Brown was the sound editor for the studio, but he also worked on several shorts during this time period, and eventually he left and had a very successful career working in sound editing. And Norman Spencer and Bernard Brown would both leave the following year, 1936, to be replaced by some guy. Probably never heard of him, Carl Stalling. I don't know. Name doesn't ring a bell. So yeah, the opening song, lots of fun, and it's reused various times throughout the cartoon. It's a catchy little ditty. I really like it. And yeah, you're starting to see Friz really playing around with the gags when he's punching the punching bag, when he's singing to the kids, admiring him. It's really cool stuff. And these Merry Melodies are really starting to get a little bit more interesting, faster in terms of gags and pacing, all that stuff.
So Granny now tells Elmer to do his chores, and he says, "All right, Granny," and he walks over to the tree, and we see an axe in foreground, but no, he's going to rip the tree trunk right from the root. Beautiful. I guess they really wanted to showcase how strong he really is. Maybe he's an incompetent boxer, but he's a strong dude. I don't know. We get some nice animation of Elmer slicing the tree, which is pretty impressive, but Grandma's having none of that. She calls him a sissy.
Give me that axe. You're getting to be a darn sissy.
But I like how she walks over to the tree with the axe, looks at the axe, throws it away like, nah, I don't need this, and we're going to see how tough she is. And sure enough, she just bashes the tree trunk. Now, this actually reminds me of what Popeye did, and Popeye had been around for about a year or so by this point, give or take, so maybe Friz saw a Popeye short and liked the idea here, I don't know, but it definitely reminded me of that. And she turns those pieces of wood into clothes pegs. She spits at tobacco and looks at him like, "See, I'm tougher than you." Okay. So Elmer pulls out a book, and see, in the start of the short, he had a book called How to Box that was left on the side, and this must be another book. Hey, at least he's doing his research, right? Having not one, but two books on how to box and one how to fight. So he looks at it and he's practicing, but the grandma, nah, she's not having any of this. He still says, "Hey, I'm going to be the champ, I'm going to be rich." Nah, she just pulls him by the ear and drags him. And some of the audio here is a little bit weird. It sounds like there's just some muttering in the background that's different to the regular voice of Elmer. I'm not sure what happened there, but maybe they'll try something different in terms of audio technique. I don't know. But I guess his boxing career is now over.
Be a fighter. I'm going to be a champ, and I'll be rich. Why, I can lick the champ with one hand.
You're going to be a what?
I'm going to be a fighter.
So we get to the scene where Elmer has to start doing his chores, and he has to start chopping a tree. And this is the part where you hear the song Reuben and Rachel, or according to the cue sheet, it's called Reuben, Reuben, I've Been Thinking. Now, the song Reuben and Rachel, I used to think that it was a folk song, but it is not. It was actually a song from the 1800s. So this information for the song comes from Wikipedia, and I quote, Reuben and Rachel is a popular song with words written by Harry Birch and music by William Gooch, originally published in Boston, Massachusetts in 1871 by the publishing company White, Smith & Perry. The song regained popularity in the 20th century as a children's song. The first line of the song, Reuben, Reuben, I've been thinking, was reused in a popular song at the close of World War I, 1919. How you going to keep them down on the farm after they've seen Paris, unquote. So that's probably where these guys heard that song. I mean, the song was written, doing math in my head, it was like 67 years before the cartoon was made. But maybe they might have recognized it from that popular song that used the opening line. Now, Reuben and Rachel, I first heard it as a child and not from music class. I know this song from a cartoon that I have a complicated history with, 1939's Gold Rush Days, directed by Ben Hardaway and Cal Dalton, and I'll get into that complicated history when I do the commentary for that one. But in the cartoon, the scene where you have the gold slicker looking around, and he's like in the country town, and he's looking around, he parks his horse, and it's just before he does the card game with the dealer, and he's doing the cool card tricks, and he's clearly trying to steal his money. And the city slicker is walking around, and you see somebody that works in that saloon looking, and you see the city slicker turning it literally into a sucker. And in the soundtrack, you hear the melody of Reuben and Rachel. And then the owner of the saloon pulls the city slicker into the saloon. He starts spinning, and when he sits down, they pull up a chair for him to deal with the card game. So I always remembered that specific scene from Gold Rush Days, and I always liked that little part. I like the way that Carl Stalling and Milt Franklin arranged the music of that one. And then I remember I was trying to figure out, what's the name of that song, Gold Rush Days? And I was looking around online. There's a playlist of songs featuring Warner Brothers cartoons, and then I heard a recording, I think, of a country performance from the 50s of Reuben and Rachel. I was like, that's the Gold Rush Days song. So yeah, but this cartoon used it first. It beat it by about 4 years. So Reuben and Rachel, it's not a folk song. It was a popular song from the 1870s. And I'm assuming my buddy Anthony will pull up a picture of the sheet music. And pretty much Rachel and Reuben, so you have a man singing Reuben, a woman singing Rachel's part, and they're going back and forth. Reuben, Reuben, I've been thinking what a grand world this would be if the men were all transported far beyond the northern sea. And then so on and so forth. They trade back and forth. And I got to listen to the full recording of it tonight. And it repeats a lot, that melody. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And Rachel and Reuben are trading back and forth. And there's a part where they sing a duet. And it's a nice little ditty. It's a cute song. Oh, I forgot to mention one more thing, too. Granny is amazing. She's so cool. Love the scene when she calls out Elmer when he's doing his chores. When you hear Reuben and Rachel playing. And she's like, pretty much, let me show you how it's done. And she rolls up her sleeves, and she's got arms like Popeye, and she starts punching the tree, and then the final hit of the trunk, it turns into clothing pins. Man, that's awesome, and it makes sense. This cartoon came out in 1935, and Popeye cartoons were already becoming really popular. So nice little contemporary nod to what was going on in the animation zeitgeist.
So now it's night, and Elmer has the brilliant idea to escape to the city to achieve his dream, and I like the look of his suit. It's got the nice touch of having the patch on the actual pants, but he hears the train, and he runs up. There's some scaling issues as he's going towards the back, but it's not a big deal or anything, just observation and nothing more. While the next scene suggests that all this is happening the same night, I highly doubt it, because you wouldn't be exactly going for the heavyweight championship of the world in one night, but whatever, it's a short, and yes, I know I'm overthinking it. We'll just go with it, okay? So we see that Elmer has a nickname, the Hickville Threat, and the crowd seems to already know about Elmer. That's why I'm saying this probably is happening down the track, but anyway, whatever. And then we hear in this corner, the champ, who happens to be a bulldog, of course. And as I said, bulldogs are never cast as vicious opponents in any short whatsoever, right? And by the way, the ring announcer, he's voiced by Ted Pierce, and Keith Scott, who wrote the wonderful Cartoon Voices book, he's actually not sure on who voices the other characters in this short, so hopefully one day a bit of information will pop up and we'll know, but for now, the only voice we know in this one is Ted Pierce. And of course, the bulldog's nickname is the Ransom Bulldog. Beautiful. So the bell rings, and I like the added touch that they use a turtle here to ring the bell, because what else are you going to use, right? A hammer? Nah, a turtle's better. And here we have easily the highlight of this short, and those who are familiar with this short, this is the one bit that sticks out in everyone's mind, and that's the boxing to La Cucaracha, which Manny will go through in just a second in regards to the song, but my goodness, the timing here is amazing. So you have a bit of a faraway shot here of the two fighting to the music, but then once you get to the medium shot where Elmer is running up and punches the bulldog in the chest a few times and the bulldog retaliates, this is timing, it's absolute perfection. And to think that Freleng was able to do this to the note, to the bar sheet, as opposed to these days where you could get pretty much a computer to do all this, it's even more impressive. This is, yeah, as I said, the highlight of this short and why it's worth watching.
Now, the other cue that's in this cartoon, besides reusing Country Mouse / I'm the strongest in the county over and over again, and you're probably saying, wait a minute, Manny, this cartoon is not set in Mexico. It's like set in, in Appalachia in the United States. Well, you hear La Cucaracha in the scene where Elmer is fighting the champion, and you start having the fight going on, and I just love the way that Friz times out the punches and everything like that during this scene. Now, a little bit about La Cucaracha. La Cucaracha means the cockroach. So it's a song about a cockroach. It's a folk song from Mexico. And it started really getting popular. I mean, it was popular, throughout Mexican history, but it started getting really big in the 1910s during the Mexican Revolution, associated with what was going on with Pancho Villa and everything involved in the Mexican Revolution. If you don't know what that is, look it up. I'm a history buff, and I like learning about these things. And the lyrics have changed. In one of the earlier versions of the song, the cockroach, he can't walk. I mean, the opening line is, la cucaracha, ya no puede caminar. So the cockroach, he no longer can walk. And in an earlier version, they're talking about he can't walk because his hind legs are broken, or like he's missing his hind legs, something of that manner. But the version of the lyrics that I'm most familiar with go like this. La cucaracha, ya no puede caminar, porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana para fumar. Pa fumar. I have family from Puerto Rico. My Spanish is Puerto Rican Spanish, and I have a habit of, instead of saying para, and I shorten it to pa. So, a little Spanish lesson over. But yeah, so what I just sang was, the cockroach, he no longer can walk because he lacks marihuana pa fumar, marijuana to smoke. Yes, the song specifically references pot, weed, whatever. Me personally, I don't touch this stuff, but yeah, that's what the lyrics are talking about. And I remember, again, talking about my early experiences watching from my childhood was the Timid Toreador, the Bob Clampett and Norman McCabe cartoon from 1940, and you hear La Cucaracha being sung in the beginning of the cartoon just before you see Porky, and you hear the word marijuana sung in the cartoon. And I remember watching it years later. I was like, wait, did I just hear what I just heard? La cucaracha, la cucaracha. And then also in one of the Speedy cartoons, I can't remember it, but his cousin, Slowpoke Rodriguez, he sings La Cucaracha with these words. And of course, Slowpoke is singing it ridiculously slow. And then again, I'm thinking, wait a minute, did I just hear they're talking about weed in this cartoon? So yeah, a little interesting take on the lyrics, so on and so forth.
Porque no tiene, porque le falta marihuana que fumar.
But a lot of people don't even know that, these are some of the lyrics of a song. And it has multiple versions of it, which I'm not going to get into now.
And the bell is rung again, and these next two bits are hilarious. So you got the one bit where the pig is trying to revive Elmer, I guess, who looks really worn out here, but I like how he revives him, but the pig knocks him out again because it's not quite ready for the next round yet. It's silly, but I like it. But the next bit's got some interesting touches. So you've got the grandmother listening to the radio. So again, this is why I think that this is way down the track when Elmer actually continues to have a career. Or otherwise, how else does she know that he's actually in a fight? Maybe there's a whole thing that happened in between here. But anyway, whatever. For purposes of time, it's completely fine. But look at the out of the touch here. She's pacing around, listening to the fight. And again, Kid Scott's not sure who does the announcer voice. He has an idea, but there's a big question mark on it. So she's pacing around, and the cat moves the stool so she can sit down for a bit. She gets up, she goes around again. The cat moves the stool. You think she's going to sit down again, but no, the cat puts the stool back. Was it needed? Not really, but it's something I didn't really notice before, and I guess it just adds that extra touch to the scene. And sure enough, she's had enough. It's like, nope, I'm going to have to set things right. So back at the boxing ring, sure enough, Elmer's not doing well at all, and the crowd is just cheering on, and it gets to the point where the Bulldog even knocks that part of the ring where the ring rotates around in a very nice effect, and that wouldn't have been easy to do, but it definitely adds to it. And Granny's hurrying along, she's cycling so she can get to the boxing ring sooner, and I'm looking at the backgrounds because what else am I going to do with my life, right? Of course I got to look at the background. There's nothing really of note in there, but it's a nice background, although I wonder who this Joe fella is. It says vote for Joe and part of it's covered. I don't know, but nothing interesting in the background except that it's perfectly functional, I guess. As you would expect, she cycles along, gets into the ring, and knocks the Bulldog out with one punch. Yes, I know. Would she really be crowned the champ here? No, but it's still pretty funny. And I like the fact that it's not a championship belt, it's an actual crown. And why is it a chimp? I don't know, but that's okay. It's fine. Granny then notices that Elmer has two black eyes and a really weird look on how this was all done, but anyway. And she takes him over a knee and spanks him, and we end right there. Okay, I guess. I mean, how old is Elmer supposed to be, and why is he still being spanked? I don't know, guys.
But yeah, this was fun to revisit this cartoon. It's a nice, charming one. And thanks for listening to Manny's Music Time once again. It's always a pleasure to come on here. Please follow me on social media at the Toony Tenor, TheTooney, for my updates as a working musician, as well as a multifaceted geek. Obviously, I love Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies and theatrical animation, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, The Simpsons, Avatar, anything else that's nerd-related or geek-related. I'll talk about it, and I'll throw some music on the side as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, folks. Enjoy the rest of the commentary, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
So this one was actually quite fun to revisit, and a lot of people do bag the earlier Friz Freleng Merry Melodies, and I'll admit some of them are very slow, some of them are a little bit on the sappier side, a little bit cutesy or Disney-esque or whatever, but then you got a few that are like this one where it's a lot more fun. There's some funny gags here. The music is actually quite fun. And, of course, the highlight, the timing, especially in that boxing match done to the tune of La Cucaracha. Is it some undiscovered masterpiece? No, but it is definitely one of the better ones in 1935, which isn't exactly a highlight year for Looney Tunes, aside from the first appearance of Porky, and we get our first Tex Avery short later on in the year. But this one, it's a nice little gem, I think. It's not too bad. This one gets, I don't know, 7.5 out of 10. It looks kind of dated, as though it's an early 30s short, as I said, like a harmonizing short, but the timing, as I said, is impeccable, and this one is also quite funny at times. A bit weird, but it's an interesting watch. If you can watch it, definitely give it a go. But that'll do it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and until next time, take care.